Hey guys, this is Spartacus here, and today I'm going to be talking about the JAK Raven Kit for the MCW here within Modern Warfare 3. This, of course, is a conversion kit that you can put on this assault rifle to drastically change the way it performs in-game, hence why it's called a conversion kit. And so, my personal opinion from using this attachment in many matches where I felt like I was just getting my ass whooped constantly, that I just did not enjoy using this attachment. It was very difficult winning gunfights in a lot of different certain circumstances, but there is definitely a lot of good sides to this weapon as well, which is actually what I want to cover first before I kind of get into the negative part about this attachment and why I really don't like it. So let's starting with the pros here and look at what is on this attachment and what is changing with the MCW. We can see that there is increased mobility in almost every way possible. You're going to have better movement speed, sprint speed, ADS speed, etc. Like all the type of movement mechanics that you have applied on your gun are going to be better, which is nice to see. You can even see that the hipfire and tac stance accuracy is improved pretty well, actually, and this is probably one of the best parts about using this attachment is actually hip firing enemies at close range. It is a lot more accurate than you might actually think, and I was very shocked how many gunfights I won at close range just by hip firing, and I think that's definitely the way to go with this gun. I personally never made a hipfire only class with this, but perhaps that is the way to go moving forward if I ever decide to use this attachment again. But also the fire rate has been increased by 12%, which is also the other thing that is extremely noticeable when using this attachment. And so hip firing, fast fire rate can definitely work out pretty well. And of course, if we move on over to the cons of the gun, all the downsides that come along with this attachment, you can of course see that there's just lower damage across the board. We have negative 2.3% headshot damage. We got negative 8.1% upper torso damage. The lower torso is at negative 8.8%, and upper legs is at negative 8.8%. So clearly this gun has a lower damage profile across the board, and to make it even worse, the damage range has been decreased by 23.8%, and even the minimum damage range, that was the maximum damage range I was giving you guys, the minimum damage range has also been decreased as well. So not only do you have a lower damage profile, but your range has decreased drastically on the gun. So now you've basically just turned your assault rifle into an SMG at this point. And then for me personally, that's not even the worst part about this gun and the negative effects that come with this attachment. The worst part is the recoil pattern you get with it. So not only do you get a 108.2% recoil gun kick increase, but you also get 308.9% increase in horizontal recoil, not vertical recoil, horizontal. And I don't know about you guys, but for me personally, horizontal recoil has always been the hardest for me to predict and to control on weapons in Call of Duty. And vertical recoil is something that I feel is much easier to control. And I don't know if everyone feels the same way. I feel like that's kind of a universal thing, but I could be wrong. And there is an increased vertical recoil on this as well, not just the gun kick. It's actually only 9.2% in vertical recoil control, which is kind of crazy considering the gun kick is all the way up there. But regardless, the horizontal is what really F's over this attachment for me. I cannot stand this. I hate the fact how high the horizontal recoil is. I have to use the best attachments possible to decrease that horizontal recoil, which of course can hurt my ADS despite it being better with the attachment as well. And it's not a great trade-off. And so because you have a lower damage profile, your range has been decreased by a lot, and you have a ton of recoil, gunfights are extremely difficult, especially in core modes. Hardcore modes, not so much. You can definitely find some fun with this gun in hardcore, but every gun is powerful in hardcore. We all know that. And so using this gun in core mode is just a pain in the butt, and it's the biggest reason why I don't like using it is just because of how bad this recoil control actually is. I should also mention that this attachment even gives you an increased flinch by 15%. So not only are you having to deal with the high recoil control, the lower damage profile, but you're also dealing with increased flinch. So more likely than not, you're going to be going up against enemies who have a better primary weapon than you, and you're going to have a really hard time taking enemies out. I will say, the games that I did well with this attachment, it felt really good, more than usual, just because when you have a good game, you using a bad gun, you feel a lot better about yourself. But of course, I purposely made the gun bad by using this attachment. Otherwise, the MCW would be a much better gun all around. And so I personally don't think that the increase in fire rate is a good trade-off compared to the damage profile and the damage range and the recoil and the flinch. Like, just because the hip fire and the rate of fire has made the gun better doesn't mean it makes up for all the other bad things that come along with this gun. I get they're trying to make it more of a hip fire type conversion kit, but honestly, like, if you're going to make this a hip fire only conversion kit, then there is no point in even trying to go for enemies at anything else besides point blank range, or at least close range. But like I said earlier, I was actually pretty shocked how accurate the fire rate was, or excuse me, the hip fire was on this gun when using it in game. And so that's something that I think you should definitely try out in close range. Don't try to ADS in close range if you don't have to. I just try hip firing and see how that pans out for you. But I wouldn't recommend any attachment that increase your hip fire other than the conversion kit itself, just because of how good it actually does improve it. So that's just kind of my tip for you guys there. Speaking of attachments, let's go ahead and look at the attachments I like to use with the JAK Raven Kit. So not only do you need the JAK Raven Kit attached onto the MCW, but you also need the muzzle attachment called the Komodo Heavy. And the Komodo Heavy is the best muzzle attachment when it comes to reducing that horizontal recoil. It's only by like 26% or something like that. But you know what? Decreasing that horizontal recoil is very necessary when trying to build attachment setup for this gun, and that is definitely the #1 attachment you should put with the JAK Raven Kit. The other attachments, like the laser, I'm using the FSS-OLV. This one does have a red laser on it when you ADS, and enemies will see it, so just be aware of that. The stock attachment, I like to use the SL Warforged Precision. In the rear grip, I'm using the RB Palm Shelf. And so this attachment setup here with the MCW is fairly solid at close range. Like I said, the hip fire is a lot better than you might expect it to be with the JAK Raven Kit. So if you're in a close quarter situation, do not ADS, just hip fire, and I promise you it's going to be a lot more accurate than you think it might be. And so I personally would just always stick in close range, never engage enemies at longer ranges ever, especially in core game modes. Hardcore is probably the only exception, just because every single gun is so powerful in that mode. It only takes like 1, maybe 2 bullets to kill an enemy, depending on the range and the damage profile on it. But still, yeah, I personally would use this gun or use this attachment setup in hardcore mode. In core modes, it's pretty difficult, and I didn't have a whole lot of good games with it, unfortunately. But also, one thing I will like to mention here at the end of the video, something I should have mentioned at the beginning, is how to actually unlock this attachment. This was a question that came up in my last video talking about a conversion kit, and it completely spaced out on me. So if you actually want to unlock this attachment, I don't know if there's like a specific challenge in game or not, because I've already have it unlocked, but how I unlocked it was through weekly challenges. And every week there's going to be a different reward when it comes to a conversion kit, and so that's pretty much how you unlock conversion kits in this game. You can also unlock some of them by just leveling up your gun, because they're already like in the game, I guess. I don't know. It seems like when they add new conversion kits, they do it through the weekly challenges, but I'm pretty sure when the first week of this game launching, this was one of those attachments, but I'm not sure what happens after that, like first week or whatever, right? Or the first season. I don't actually know how that works. So after the season's over, maybe there's a challenge to unlock it. Let me know in the comments below. I actually don't really know how it works after like a new season starts. So I don't know. I'm just curious about that. And then the last thing I'll end off in this video is using this attachment in zombies. I did use it for a little bit in zombies, and it's something that I may end up talking about at the end of these videos, just because zombies is still part of Modern Warfare 3, and it's something that I still play a ton of. And so in zombies, yeah, honestly, it's kind of meh. Like I said, with the multiplayer aspect, is that I just don't think it's worth using at all whatsoever. You might as well just use the normal MCW, and I think the same is true with zombies. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Honestly, didn't really use it too much. Wasn't that impressed when I used it in my first match of zombies, so probably will never use it again. And yeah, that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are brand new, and of course, do not forget to follow me over on X or Twitter, whatever you like to call it, to stay up to date with me outside of YouTube, and I shall catch you guys later.